Two dudes watch cartoons. Two dudes watch cartoons. Two dudes watch cartoons. Two dudes watch cartoons. Yeah.
Welcome back to Two Dudes Watch Cartoons, the podcast where two dudes, that is us, watch cartoons. My name is Evan.
And my name is Alex, and today we have quite the delight for you guys. I'm really excited to get into this, but before we do, wanted to say hello, bonjour, jambo, to our guest, Kevin Jacobs, second time here on the podcast. We just figured it's been about 2 years since he was here covering Pinocchio. Kevin said, I only want to cover the most high class of animated films. But Kevin, how are you doing? Welcome back.
I'm doing really well. I'm hello, bonjour, jumbo. Can I confess that I don't know what language that is? Is that really bad?
No, I think it and not me already getting canceled, but I think it is an African language of some sort. I don't know exactly.
Jumbo. I meant to look it up, but yeah, I'm just thrilled to be back here talking about the wild robot.
Swahili.
Cool.
Look at that.
Cool. Swahili, Jumbo. Hello. Hello, and it's nice to be here. Obviously, I only come for the best films, so Pinocchio is one of my favorites. We'll see if I like the wild robot or not. But
I didn't introduce you as the winner of Big Brother Canada 10 because the last time I did that, the internet got really mad at me.
Yeah.
They were like, thanks for the spoilers. I was like, the season's been over. Like, I don't know what to tell you guys. I'm sorry.
You're good now.
It's been 2
if
years.
You're
So I'm
spoiling
telling
that
you
for
guys.
someone, like we are far past the statute of limitations.
They scare me, though. When they start yelling, they get on things. But yeah.
I got other stuff going on since then. Like, come on.
It's been 2 whole years, people. No, okay, good. Like Kevin said, we're talking about a new film here, The Wild Robot. Now, what I'd like to actually do is a little bit different to start off this podcast. Because we're coming in hot. This movie just came out this weekend, and we're already releasing an episode. I'd love for all of us maybe to go around the horn and give like a pitch to pause this podcast and go see this movie before you finish. I know I'm putting you guys on the spot. I'd be happy to go first if anyone has an idea of what they'd like to say to convince. Because we have some people who listen to every episode and don't necessarily always watch things, but I think this is one they should go watch.
Alex, why don't you start? Why don't you lay the groundwork?
I think the fact that I am pulling a segment out of thin air is a perfect reason enough that you should go see this. No, okay. This film, to me, the trailers, first off, 10 out of 10 on the trailers. I think trailers are an art, and the reason I want to do this kind of spoiler-free section is because the trailers showed me maybe like 5% of the movie, I feel like. And the other 95% that I got to discover for myself was so every emotion on the spectrum to the 11th degree that I just was like really blown away. I thought I knew what this movie was going to be about, and it kind of took like a hard right turn in the most beautiful, stunning, spectacular way possible.
Solid pitch, yeah.
I got two sides to this pitch. The one is that we often don't get original animated films like this. And what I mean by that is you often, they're adapted from something, or they're a spin-off, or it's number 2 or number 3. I think The Wild Robot is such a hit, both critically and especially commercially, which it should be, that I think we're going to see Wild Robot 2 and 3. And in order to make that happen, go to the theater. And part 2 is that I saw it for my second time in the theater today. And there were like 5 of us. It was 1 in the afternoon, I confess.
That's my favorite time to go.
Yeah.
Amazing. And it's not even that it's that sad of a movie or anything like that, but there was this one person in the theater was just bawling her eyes out the entire time, and I couldn't blame her.
That was me in my theater of 10 people, 9 children, and me. I'm
not upsetting
far
you,
back. Good.
Okay.
God damn, Evan. Go ahead.
Those are both really great pitches. My pitch would be, this is, in a way, a swan song to DreamWorks in-house production.
Yeah.
But it is also as many people on the internet will say, perhaps the peak of what they have accomplished. So DreamWorks has said in the past they're going to start outsourcing animation, working with other vendors rather than doing everything in their studios. But to go out on this note is marvelous, and I don't know, it's like bittersweet in a way. It's like, oh man, you've really hit your stride in this movie in particular.
Don't see Wild Robot 2.
I'm assuming you guys got this as well, but there was like this new DreamWorks intro for the film that kind of ran through all their hits, and it was like such a like, oh hey, you guys love so many of our movies, don't forget all these movies. I was
think
able
they've
to
had
really
that since
string together.
Puss in Boots, I want to say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I'm out of the loop then. That's fine. I haven't seen one in a minute. I did see Puss in Boots though. I must have missed that. But I thought it was great, and Little Boy in the Moon. But that is so wild to hear, because like what a triumph here to be like, yeah, this is our last one though. Like you would think this would be like, I'm never leaving, like type deal.
So this released in the States Friday, made on a budget of $78 million. Right now it's already made back $54 million. I think
I think that was yesterday too.
yeah. So it's on track to do pretty well. And it's just another one of those things where it's like, it feels like studios take all of the wrong lessons. Like, oh, we made a smash hit for this little amount of money. Like, let's outsource and drive those costs down even more, which is a shame, because this is such a triumph. Running time, 102 minutes. Now, it released at the Toronto International Film Festival, Kevin, which I believe is where you saw it for the first time. What was that experience like?
Yeah. I went to, it actually wasn't the first screen I went to. Usually at the Toronto International Film Festival, shout out Tiff for crediting me this year. Thank you. So at the premiere, they have everybody in it and the director there. This was like the fourth or fifth showing, which first of all is rare for a film to have. Like that's a lot. And second of all, was a packed house on the last day of the festival, Sunday at 9 a.m., which if you've been to a film festival on day 10 or 11, you do not want to be there at 9 a.m. Packed house, full room, people waiting to get in. It was a beautiful experience. Nice to be watching a nice animated film with a whole crowd there with the festival environment. If you can get to a festival to watch a film there, do it.
What I love is this feels like a film festival film, and yet my theater was, and rightfully so, it was all families, and it is like a movie probably geared toward and centered around a child audience, but hot damn, I bet you there's a lot of parents that are catching it via their children that start tearing up or learn something along the way by accident.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God, this movie was, I mean, before we even get into it, just was jam packed. With they fit a lot into 100 and what'd you say, or an hour 40
minutes. Yeah,
102 minutes. That feels short compared to how much was actually fit into this movie.
If there's ever a film that makes the case for animation being a medium, this is it. This is it. Like, it's really beautiful storytelling. It's done in a way where, I mean, I was thinking for one or two of the characters, like if this was live action, they'd be getting nominated, Like these performances are incredible. I'm all for it.
I totally agree. I literally was like, I hope this wins every award it possibly can win. This was, first off, just the animation itself. I believe it's just computer animated, like not like it was, but it was so like crisp when it needed to be crisp and like kind of artsy when it needed to be artsy. It was fluid at times. But, the main robot, Roz, was also like, just as the thing went on, you could see the texture of the robot change. It was, I just was blown away from start to finish with this thing.
It's another in the entry of movies that have sprung up post Spider-Verse, doing things visually that are breaking out of the norm of CGI. Films like, obviously, Spider-Verse. We have last year's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Bad Guys, this is a DreamWorks movie. I haven't seen it, but more painterly, Puss in Boots is another one, and this is sort of continuing in that direction, where essentially the final film was purposely made to look almost exactly like the concept artwork. It's painterly. You'll hear people describe it as, but in essence, trying to make it look as two-dimensional as like a CGI film or a CG film could be. And that was very much intentional, even with like the animal designs, because this is all set in the woods essentially. And whereas other modern CG films that deal with animal life, like where they might like take pride in like articulating the individual hairs, it's like you really have these animals where they're made up of brush strokes, like the actual brush strokes that they're painting them with. And it's done to a beautiful effect. With Roz's character, Roz is the main character, voiced by Lupita Nyong'o. Starts out she's a robot. Starts out completely CGI when she's new to the environment. By the end of the movie, is covered in moss, sort of worn down by the environment, but starts to look more painted, and all that is done to such beautiful effect throughout this movie. And it's just, you have to see it on as big a screen as you can.
You just described what I was looking at and kind of confused about seeing, because at different parts of the film, like that mix of the sort of the hand drawn of the 3 and the CGI, like the way I was looking at it was my depth perception in the film. I kept thinking, it's so interesting. I couldn't explain it the way you explained it, but I kept seeing how different parts of this environment, and even there are a couple chase scenes where you're going inside of trees and through the ground and underwater, felt like something that I hadn't really felt too much before. That's so cool how you described that.
Yeah, really well said. The environment was beautiful. The animation, like I could see, like you said, the Spider-Verse and like even Puss in Boots. Like, yeah, this is kind of the direction a lot of animation has been going. But I just, even from the trailer, I guess I didn't understand that it was going to be so visually stunning. You know what I mean? Like, even though it's beautifully animated, there was times like this island, it's a forest island with no humans on it. We could start getting into the plot a little. And so if you haven't watched, you go now.
Spoiler alert, Kevin wins his season of Big Brother. Alex did not win his season of The Circle.
We're spoiling everything here. Okay. Well,
we're
so
getting into the
what I was
movie.
going to jump to is when all of the geese at the end are just taking off. I was like in awe of that whole thing. And I was just like, this is the most beautiful thing. I had to remind myself it was animated almost. You know what I mean? I was like, what a sight to see. And I was like, oh yeah, it was animated, but still.
You kind of just want to put your arms out and run.
Dude, I totally did. I very much did.
Alex, do you want to give us the basic premise, plot, synopsis?
We have hold on, I want to look up the technical name. Do you guys know the name of her robot? I mean, I know Roz.
7134, is that?
Bingo.
Yeah,
right on the
a
money.
Rozum helper robot 7314. And another.
You know what? Let me read the synopsis from Letterboxd. Let me
Please.
save you the trouble.
Go for it.
After a shipwreck, an intelligent robot called Roz is stranded on an uninhabited island. To survive the harsh environment, Roz bonds with the island's animals and cares for an orphaned baby goose. There
Okay,
it is.
yeah, beautiful synopsis. What's really great is we get this hyper intelligent robot out of the gate, and we have no signs of civilization, but we can safely assume like this is in our future. And then there's like so many shots later on that like confirm. So it just really good storytelling. I love when, even for a children's movie, they're like, no, our audience is not dumb. They'll understand like this robot. We don't need to show the whole process. Because there's part of me that was like, man, I kind of wish we always stayed on the island perspective. I understand there was scenes we probably needed to see outside the island, but I really liked almost the self-contained story of us being on the island from start to finish. And from the beginning, you just get that she's this confused helper robot that's going around and asking anyone and everything, do you need any help? Do you need any tasks completed? And man, what the whole tasks completion thing, I was like, what a metaphor for the human condition. Just always try to check the next thing off the list. Doesn't even matter what it is.
Aimlessly
got
searching
dark.
for purpose.
Yeah.
Literally, though.
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Wow. Well, Roz kind of finds it.
Uh-huh.
And
Yeah.
Oh man, I mean, I think you're right. Like the best parts of the film are on the island when we get to I mean, other than the epic escape from the robot.
That's why I was saying
factory
it's not
slash-
all true, but there was part of me that was feeling that sort of
Yeah.
all on the island.
When does this happen? Because
My
it's
guess
near
is-
future-ish.
2,300. I don't know.
Yeah, we see the Golden Gate Bridge underwater.
I'm optimistic that's not like in 10 years.
So it's after Planet of the Apes because the bridge is covered. It's underwater at this point. So pretty far in the future. I will say I do like the bits that we see in the future. I almost kind of wish we didn't see humans in that future environment. We see a couple. There's not like I don't think there's any dialogue or
We
anything.
really
but
didn't need to.
Yeah, I think if we had just dealt with the sort of robot dynamic, that would have been fun. And then maybe introduce humans in Wild Robot 2.
It's not happening.
Too
Stop.
wild, too
It's
robot.
complete. So, yeah, she wanders around aimlessly looking for a task, looking for purpose. And I think this was the part of the movie that actually took a turn. The first turn was originally, she can't speak to any of these animals. And then she's like, okay, calculating. And she like learns animal for the next however long. I loved that I guess they probably showed us how long it was. It was probably like a couple months because the movie's like a cycle of a whole year, I guess, kind of.
Yeah, she is. First of all, I hadn't watched any trailers, so I didn't know going into it if the animals talked. I kind of assumed they did. It is very cool to get like the first person point of view as well. So it kind of introduces Roz through her eyes with a lot of the shots and does this throughout the film, which I thought was a pretty cool approach.
We get that fisheye lens right in the beginning when she washes up on shore. You see the
Yeah.
otters tapping on the box. They really throw you right into the action. We see her learning on the fly how to climb up the rock wall like a crab. That was really fucking cool. Loved all of that. And then tosses you in headfirst into some pretty heavy shit when Roz, while trying to escape the bear, fells a tree and kills a goose and its family. And
I wasn't ready for that either. Everything caught me off
Yeah.
guard in a
Goose
great way.
and family.
goose and
Goose
family.
and family.
One of those eggs is broken too.
And she tried to put the little egg back together. Oh my god,
It
it
was
was
rough.
it was so rough. And she finds one egg though, realizes there's life there, and she grabs it. And you know what? No one assigned her this task. This was her first like deviation from protocol almost. Her programming, excuse me. I loved when she kept bringing that up about the animals. They have instincts. They fly south for the winter. They hibernate. She's like, oh, it's part of your programming. God, I know it's so cheesy, but I loved how just over time she just always related to the animals. She was able to figure it out, live like them. Like, god damn, it was beautiful.
Yeah. I don't know if we've talked about the director yet, but this is directed by Chris Sanders, who directed Lilo and Stitch, voices Stitch, and is also still voicing Stitch in the upcoming live action.
I didn't know that. I
Also
know he
directed
did-
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Powerhouse.
I was about to say that's actually 3 of like some of the best animated films ever. This dude knows what he is doing. Good.
Yeah.
Give him $1 billion. Let him do what he wants.
Yeah. All the tweets I've been seeing are like, this guy has made 2 of DreamWorks' best movies by far.
Well, the music too. Chris Bowers. I look this guy up. The most interesting project I saw was The Green Knight, which is a really
Oh my god.
A mind
a
fuck, yeah.
totally a mind fuck of an A24
Yeah.
Arthurian horror legend movie. That makes like the warmest score, the most like comforting big hug of a film at the same time. It's like, I don't know, those comedians who are like really dark on the inside.
And then they're on Full
Chris
House. Yeah.
Bowers.
That's crazy. Green Knight, just to tangent a little, is a movie that immediately when I finished it, I was like, I don't think I enjoyed that very much. But I thought about it for like 2 weeks after I watched it every day.
That's like the coolest movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
just
okay,
keep
you know
thinking
what?
about
Man, I think I did like
Yeah.
that. I'm coming back to it every day with like, oh, but this was kind of, you know what I mean?
it. Yeah.
Yeah, anytime Barry Keegan's a freak, it's gonna stick with me.
That's a
I
win.
forgot he was in that.
I know it's one of his first like big roles.
just like creepily carrying around an
what I was
animal.
thinking, Chris Sanders. So his original idea for Lilo and Stitch was that Stitch would land in the woods and sort of relate with characters. The notes from Disney was like the animal world is already alien to us, so like that contrast isn't sharp enough. So it changed to Stitch and Lilo, obviously, like adapting to the human world, and so. This is in a way that movie was like what 2002, so this is sort of like a full circle.
Wow.
It sort of comes back to that idea with Roz landing in the woods and relating to the animals.
And it's adapted from a book, from a novel, right? Like an
Peter
actual
Brown,
novel.
Yeah.
There's
I
three
think
books, so there's
there's three.
room
I thought
for
it was like a
sequels.
children's book. It's like there's 3 books.
Yes,
I had no
I don't know
idea.
the length. They may be
You're blowing my mind.
children's books. Yeah.
I guess again, I didn't think about that. But when you say 3 books, I think of like sequels. So, wow. Okay, so Roz finds this egg, and it hatches eventually, and she's like, okay, well that was my pseudo task for the moment. Bye. And it's played kind of comedically, but I just think it's so funny that she's just like, okay, well, like she doesn't know anything, even though she's designed to do all of these things. I think it's just such an interesting dynamic of like this robot should be the smartest thing in the room, but it doesn't know anything. It doesn't know anything about being alive.
It's like a very charming naivety. Like this robot is just smiling and thinks that
Yes.
everything that anyone says is true. It's very charming.
That was funny when Fig was like, "Do you believe anything?" Everyone, he's like, "I'm not gonna eat it," and she's like, "Oh, great!" And she puts it down. I could have eaten it. She's like, "You said you weren't going to," and those scenes were great. I didn't. Also, Finks the fox. I didn't
Yes.
even realize it was Pedro Pascal.
How did you?
What
It sounds just like him.
I
mean,
know,
it
I know
is
it does. I just wasn't paying enough attention. I was so in it. I was so engrossed. I don't think I identified any voice weirdly except for Ving Rhames when he came on. I recognized his voice instantly, but everyone else I actually thought either was like someone else or I just wasn't. And you know what? That's actually a compliment to the movie because I'm normally sitting there being like, oh, that's so-and-so, or like, oh, I recognize them from whatever. I was so in this. I didn't even know it was Lupita Nyong'o until I left the theater and took a picture of the thing on my phone. I go, oh, that's Lupita Nyong'o. I was like, brilliant. And 10 out of 10. She killed it. But like, what a year these like the actors, the 3 main actors are all like such big stars right now.
Well, that's the thing, at the film festival, some of these people were just walking in and out of premieres, right?
Yeah.
Lupita can pop into the Wild Robot 'cause she's been busy.
Crazy. Yeah, that's cool.
That's awesome. Kit Connor is one I'm not familiar with his work. He voices Bright Bill, the baby Gosling.
He's in the popular Netflix TV show Heartstoppers, which is probably not something you've watched, but it is very big right now. Or
Okay.
it has been.
Thought he did well. For me, Pedro Pascal didn't hit escape, like the character of Fink didn't hit escape velocity of the celebrity casting, but it's not
I
too
didn't even know it was
distracting.
him. I didn't.
good.
I have to disagree if I'm being honest. I didn't even know it was him.
Fink is like my one. If I have one thing to nitpick in
Okay.
this film, and
Do
let
it.
me just say outright, if it's not clear, I absolutely adore this. I feel like we were on the verge of like a really interesting backstory. Could have used like 1 or 2 more lines to give me a little more context. This fox doesn't have any friends, so acts out and causes mischief. Is just looking for friends. Like, give me like one. We see his character progress. I just like if I had to nitpick here, I wanted like
Yes.
1 or 2 more lines. Like, give me a little quick story, like that story he tells where the animation changes. So cool. Go on.
Yeah, he mentions like he doesn't know what it's like for a mother to love. He's like, my mom left, but I get what you're saying. To me, it also, if we're nitpicking here, at times sort of just
We're
reminded me
nitpicking.
of like the fox from Zootopia.
Okay. Well, now that we're nitpicking, now that
Whoa.
I do have some qualms with this movie. I absolutely.
What are
have
your
we done?
qualms? Get him out.
Yeah,
Get him
let's
out.
do 'em here.
Absolutely. And it sort of goes to what you're saying about Fink is I feel like a lot of the relationships and some of those emotional beats that happen later on in the movie because of those relationships, they're a little undercooked. They don't get enough time. They don't feel as earned as they could be. There's payoffs with the beaver character. There's payoffs with Ving Rhames' bird. There's payoff with the head goose. He's like sort of introduced as like the old curmudgeon leader of the pack, immediately takes Bright Bill under his wing, and then like there's not like a lot happens in this movie, and as like because of that, some of those relationships aren't served as well in the story. I think it's probably a result of it being adapted from this book, but hopefully if we get more of this, there's a little more room to breathe for those relationships.
Here's my counter.
Okay, fair enough.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think the way I viewed it is really mostly about like Roz's relationship to the island as a whole, and the animals and the ecosystem kind of fall under that. So yes, while she does have a much more personal relationship with like Finks and Bright Bill, everything else to her is like outside literally her hut, her like sphere of knowledge. It is all just like the ecosystem of the island they all live on. She doesn't even understand like the food chain fully. You know what I'm saying? So to her, those relationships it was more about the outsiders, or excuse me, it's about the natives to the island accepting Roz more so than the one-on-one relationships. She has no interest in those one-on-one relationships.
Yeah, but things just move quickly.
That's not her programming.
Going from she builds the shelter for them to survive that first winter.
She built the shelter for
to
her.
Bright Bill is grown up and having his outcast moment with the rest of the geese. Like that tension isn't as like there's not enough lead up for it.
Okay.
I understand. I understand where you're coming from. I do think that the Bright Bill Roz relationship is the center of the film,
Absolutely.
and that one works on every level with the, forgetting to say they love each other, to it's said with the heart, to coming back and saying it, and like the whole that is the main arc of the film, and that works. I'm interested. I don't know, in like the balance of this idea that these characters each play a role, because there's, Catherine O'Hara as Pinktail at the beginning is like giving motherly advice, which then pays off later. She's like, you're not gonna know what you're doing. You just figure it out. And then Ross figures it out. There's like Longneck. On a second watch, I think he knows he's gonna die the whole movie. He knows he's not making it back. He makes a comment in the human sphere being like, well, I'm glad Bright Bill does something cool. He's like, I'm glad I got to see that before I die, or in my life.
Yeah.
And there are like these little things that I wonder if they played that small role. But yeah, like those relationships aren't. I'm not that sad when Grandpa dies. It's just like it's sad.
It's so sad.
Maybe what I'm trying to do is just leveling some expectations, because this is such a highly regarded film right now, but I think the target demographic for this movie is probably a little younger than even most of the like mainstream animated movies that we watch on this podcast. So it skews a little younger. So the messaging is a little simpler, which I don't mind. But if you're gonna go in with like, a critical eye, you might notice these things. But this is a film. This is a film. Here, to my point, this is a film that you feel, and on that end, it delivers in spades.
Okay, you convinced me. That was really well said.
I brought it full circle.
You did. That was really good.
Yeah, and part of that context, I think, is also like, I've seen people saying this is like one of the best animated films of all time. I've seen them saying it's for sure the best of the year. I'd be curious what you guys think and where it does fall, because like it is great, but some of these superlatives are okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I am one to be exaggeratory. Just throwing that out there.
Okay.
I will not fight people if they want to say it's the greatest animated film of all time. I do think it's the best movie I've seen this year, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's the most well animated film we've seen this year. I certainly think I enjoyed it a lot more than Inside Out 2.
Yeah. I'm not even talking animated. Every movie I've seen this year, I felt like this was the best one I've seen.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I wouldn't say it's the best animated film of all time or anything. Maybe DreamWorks' best. I might put Puss in Boots over it.
While we're talking about this, I want to bring this up. We did a Pixar March Madness a couple months back here. Well, I guess that was almost half a year ago now.
Mm-hmm.
We've never discussed this, but this movie I left. What do you guys think about the conversation of DreamWorks versus Pixar? What do you think is better? What do you enjoy more? Do you think DreamWorks has a case to go above Pixar? Kevin's face says no, but I'm curious what he has to say about it.
Yeah.
I just think there are a lot of misses in there.
Yeah.
And I do think a part of it is a lot of my like real nostalgia is for some of the early Pixar, whereas
That's fair.
Shrek. I love Shrek, but
Oh, yeah.
Shrek. I don't know that I'm like feeling
Changed
something.
culture, but go on.
I think if
Shrek is amazing. It's just I don't feel the same. I don't.
No,
I'm
I
not,
understand.
I'm not grabbing balloons and seeing if I can fly.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah. I think if you took a snapshot of this moment in time and there you saw Wild Robot, you saw Puss in Boots, you saw Inside Out 2, maybe Elemental, I think there's a case there. And it's
okay.
also an interesting point in time where the Pixar Disney overall level of quality is, you could say, declining. It's up for debate. And this movie and some of the recent DreamWorks stuff is like an inflection point upwards. So it's certainly an interesting
does this
time.
change it? Does this change it?
I don't know, because they're outsourcing
Are we pushed
everything.
over there?
Who knows?
I don't have a car at the moment, so I'm getting a lot of things delivered to my house. Marty has made it so easy because not only are they fast and efficient, but they're the cheapest option out there by far.
I get these matcha lattes that retail for like $45 for a 12-pack. And I've never bought it full price. I get it on Marty for $15. Marty's woman-owned, sustainable, socially conscious, and eco-friendly. What they do is they buy up surplus inventory from the top brands that you love, and they sell it to you at a lower price, so you save food waste and you save money.
That was my first question, was how do they get these things so cheap? But they have a model and it's passing savings on to you. They got hundreds of items, fast shipping, no subscriptions needed, and you can save on all the great food that you love. We do have a discount code when you go to marty.com/2dudeswatchcartoons, all one word.
TWO, dudes watch
TWO,
cartoons.
2 dudes watch cartoons, all one word. You can save $5 off your order.
Go to marty.com/2dudeswatchcartoons at our link in bio, or just plug in the promo code 2dudeswatchcartoons. That's TWO, dudes watch cartoons. Thanks for supporting the pod. Go get yourself some delicious snacks. Alex, go figure out the car situation. I don't know what's going on.
I don't need to with Marty.
Back to the episode.
Two dudes watch cartoons.
I left this, and maybe I was throwing too much weight into the Shrek franchise, but I was like,
Kung Fu Panda.
yeah, there was more too. There was Kung Fu Panda, and now I can't even remember them now. But I just seen that montage, I was like, damn, they got some hits here. What'd you say?
How to Train Your Dragon.
Yeah, this is what I'm
They
saying.
got-
Is
yeah.
I think they've cemented themselves as a very healthy second place. Is what I'll
Yes,
say.
healthy competition for sure. One of the Letterboxd top popular Letterboxd reviews is like the best Pixar movie in 14 years was made by DreamWorks, which okay.
Oh,
Little shade.
This has a lot of Pixar feel to it, though. Pixar's
Yeah.
wheelhouses give inanimate object feelings and go from there. And this one was, I really loved the journey from start to finish because even Roz's voice changes. She speaks very robotic. It's not like a drastic change by any mean, but she speaks much more robotic in the beginning, and by the end of it, she's speaking in like kind of fluid sentences.
Yeah.
I think it's an incredible voice performance by Lupita Nyong'o.
Yeah.
Because and by the way, with this film, a lot of these things sound on paper like they should be cliche. A robot is in the wild that it learns how to be a mom and saves this little duckling. Oh,
And
shut
it
up.
wasn't, though. You're so right.
Shut up. That sounds a terrible premise.
Yeah.
Those Disney execs
like, "That's for
talking about Lilo and
babies."
Stitch were right. Like animals are. You got a talking beaver who's going to be important. Stop it.
It's
Like, grow
Matthew
up.
Berry.
Wait, first off, thought it was Tim Curry the whole time. And
Yeah.
second, the beaver presenting Roz the fake foot was the first moment I teared up.
sweet.
That was the first
Yeah.
moment I
Yeah.
teared up.
Yeah.
I was not expecting it at all. I was like, that is beautiful.
Really well thought out, putting the screw through the wood. Like it's
So
Yeah.
good.
And that's the thing. Sitting in the theater, I was like, I'll be honest. So I went and saw this with friend of the pod, Dylan, and I'll read you his review of it. We were both discussing the film afterwards, but he said, it definitely got me. Pulled it off in the end for sure, but was skeptical during the 70-minute learning to fly montage that started the film. And that's sort of how like, for me, the first maybe third of the movie is like, oh, it's just a lot of woodland hijinks. I'm like, I'm not in the right mindset. I'm like critiquing this movie. I'm not in the right headspace for this. But by the end of it, like my cynical heart, man, those themes, like the parenting, the belonging, the kindness wins over everything. Like I was welling up. It got me. Like it's simple messaging. It works. But yeah,
Let's get into some of this messaging because there's so many wild So the first one very much was the kindness wins over everything, and she mentions like them having to overcome. Oh my God, this is so good. I couldn't believe I thought of this during the thing. When they're all in the hut during the winter, and she's like, look, you have to overcome your programming sometimes to survive. And then we also had all the shots of like planet Earth being flooded. And it was like, listen, humans, if you don't overcome some of your programming, we're not all going to survive. And I was just like, I was like, they snuck the woke in there. Get out. I was like, get out of my theater, conservatives. Climate change is real. Sorry, I had to. It was so well done that like, oh my God. It was beautiful. Chef's kiss. Sorry, you guys can talk.
I didn't even pick up on that.
I didn't even catch that either.
It was so tiny. It was so tiny.
That's good.
Such a small thing, but I literally was like, they snuck the environmentalist message in there, and it had 0.01% of the movie was about it, and it got me. Didn't go over my head. Way to go, DreamWorks.
Chris Sanders, #1 fan over here.
Yeah, right now, I really am. Like, I love Lilo and Stitch. It's one of my favorite Disney movies. And as we know, I really had never connected with How to Train Your Dragon. But when we covered it on the podcast, I was like, this movie is awesome. And so to have this be like a follow-up after that, this guy, give him a bill.
I think he's getting a bill.
Yeah, you're right.
I read an interview he did for this movie where he was talking about still doing the voice work for Stitch, and he said like after the original movie came out, they had brought him some voice actors and like, oh, we're gonna play some voices for you because like people are gonna need to voice games and merch, and he's like, oh, I'll just do it. And he was like, that was the best decision I ever made. And I was like, yeah, probably financially that was a very smart fucking decision. You're still voicing Stitch 20 some years later. Smart dude, but that's also reassuring to know Stitch is still the same Stitch we had in 2002.
Yeah. Say yes, Lupita, when they come back.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I think, Kevin, you hit on something that is really good, is like saying all these things out loud and like saying it should be cheesy. And what Evan was saying is the however long it was montage of her learning everything in the woods, that is what I thought the movie was going to be. Was the just honestly fucking around in the woods, like, and I was like, this will be a fun romp or whatever. But then when the emotional beats start coming, like Kevin said, they should be cheesy, but they're so natural, and like because she's a robot, like they're real tiny moments. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not like this long drawn out scene. It's beautiful. It's great.
To me, the Kiss the Sky Maren Morris trading montage, like that specific song, like that any ice cold heart I have was warmed up in that. It starts with some issues. Bright Bill's having some problems, and then it ends like the old guy is introduced. The Bill Nighy long neck is introduced during that. A lot happens. I played that song 20 times in a row at the gym today.
I've listened to it since also. I have. It's on my Spotify right now.
As it should be.
Okay, yeah, and this movie wins over the cynic's heart because Maren Morris. It's like it sort of cuts through the film. It's like a contemporary, pop country singer's voice. I was like, oh, that's an odd choice. I was like, I want to hate this, but like
when you're listening
beats
to it,
picking up. I'm like,
I can see it in your eyes right now.
It's like it's good. It really truly moves you. Like so much of this film is so moving, and as much as I want to hate and nitpick, like this movie made me feel things, and especially as a new parent, like even early in the movie, I didn't know Catherine O'Hara voiced the possum, but she has a lot of the lines about motherhood and parenting, and like every time Roz touches her shoulder where Bright Bill used to sit when he was a little gosling, like all those moments, I could hear there's probably like one mom in my theater that I could hear sort of laughing and awing and like, or laughing a little too hard when Catherine O'Hara's character said, making jokes about motherhood, like, oh, they'll be the deathy, or like random shit like that. I was like, don't be that corny, lady. But it's like, yeah, they're right. It like really speaks to the heart.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
Catherine O'Hara set the whole thing in motion. She gave Roz the mission. She said, here are your 3 steps you need to complete.
That's true.
So good.
Which again, like, it's like, why are you describing the whole first act for us like that? But it's so good. They actually, I think they introduce all the main animals before Roz can speak to them. I think we get like really quick shots of it. There's almost like a little overture.
Because we don't know they're going to be important like that.
Yeah. You see their personalities. You see, like, you see
before they could speak.
Yeah.
I really loved her physically learning the animal's language when it was like filling it in over time. I thought that was really cool. And then there was a point where the company, I can't think of it, the company that made her name.
Universal Dynamics?
Yeah, you nailed it. Universal Dynamics. When they want Roz back, I was like, why do they even care? Just it's lost damage.
So
and then
annoying.
I was like, oh,
it is
she's
really
got
compelling.
code. I go, she's got code in her brain that will let them speak to animals after this. I go, that actually, if they could translate animal speak, that's worth billions of dollars.
Or it's artificial intelligence that could learn and override its own programming.
It did learn.
The sci-fi aspect was cool.
There was, that's what was, yes, actually, it was like equal parts wilderness movie and equal parts sci-fi, which was actually a really cool contrast between the two.
It's saying something about AI. I think it's positive,
You know what?
but I'm not sure.
Positive one about AI, but
well, the other side of it is the Stephanie Chu villain.
She voiced the villain. Okay,
She was the
voice
other
of
robot.
Yeah,
Robot Jobu Tapaki. Is what it is.
yeah, it was. That robot was kind of scary. Like the way its tentacles would. She's like, ooh, you have so much information in that big brain of yours.
Lovecraftian horror.
It really was.
I would say it was maybe like the last third of the movie. I wouldn't say it's half like future sci-fi. I would say it's like the last third that really do.
No,
I don't know.
Roz herself is a sci-fi sort of deal. We don't have anything like that, and it was fun getting introduced to it slowly over time. And I think that's another thing about like the themes and messages. It doesn't sound, it didn't feel corny because it really slowly crept up on you, in my opinion. Especially because it doesn't sound like any of us really knew what the film was about going in. Like it just like I didn't know she was gonna find a bird. I didn't even, you know what I mean? Like I didn't know she was gonna have to train it. Like so those being like, oh, like me putting the pieces together slowly at the same time, and I was like, oh, she's learning to love. It's beautiful. I was like, can I learn to love again? No, I'm kidding.
It's cheesy when you say it. But
It is. It's so cheesy.
I guess it is cheesy.
But it wasn't. It wasn't.
The walking away, like the classic, I'm not going to be the mom. Like, okay, you're walking, but it lines up. It's the programming. She's, so like it works.
Even though the cliche moment where they say the title of the film, man. That was Captain America picking up Thor's hammer for me when they're like, "You don't belong here. This is all wild.
This is the wild.
Well, I'm a wild robot." I was like,
and they all
I
start
think people
doing
were
it.
cheering in my theater. I don't know. I can't remember. I might be making that up, but I was. I was like, yeah.
She jumps into the moon like the DreamWorks boy. It's like
when she yelled, "And I'm a wild robot," and just howled. That moment was chills. That was unbelievable. And even for saying the name of the title, the Peter, they said the name of the film thing, but like it was so well done.
Good.
It was beautiful.
Can't complain.
we're gonna see a lot of Roz merch and
yeah.
media, I think, in the coming year.
We're
Halloween.
gonna get shorts. Yeah, I mean, I was joking about it, but I genuinely believe we'll get at least a Wild Robot 2. I don't see
100%.
how not.
Yeah.
There's a novel. There's another novel to adapt.
Good point. Yeah, we know it's coming.
Granted, my source is like a tweet that I half remember, but I think maybe probably the second book deals with Roz escaping wherever she is, Universal Dynamics.
Fuck.
Perfect.
Okay, yeah, I'm in.
Don't fact check that, but
It's titled "The Wild Robot Escapes."
okay, yeah, that tracks.
Let's
Sweet.
go. If the geese can do it, she can too. Anything I can do, you can do also.
I was trying to
Well,
think.
that's what Roz does.
Yeah.
Roz adopts the movements.
Oh, wait. That was also one thing another thing I thought was going to be corny. I liked the crab. I was like, oh, that's fun. But then when she was actually climbing as the crab, I was like, that's a bit weird. But by the end of it, when she is running with all the animals, I was like, let's fucking go. It won me over, dude, with its sincerity. So
Yeah.
good.
There's a couple other people in the voice cast.
Yeah,
I
go
just
through
wanna
it.
shout
It's a
out
really
real
good
quick.
cast.
We talked about Stephanie Shu, Bill Nye. Mark Hamill is Porcupine.
No, he's not the porky. Oh, he's the
Isn't he?
porcupine.
Is-
Oh, I thought he used the bear.
Yeah. And then Matthew Berry from What We Do in the Shadows.
I think Mark Hamill was the bear. I'm going to correct you on that one.
Okay.
That's a guy who's also having a big year.
What else has he been in this year?
So this film coming out it's coming out next summer. It's The Life of Chuck. Mark Hamill might get a Best Supporting Actor now.
Whoa, I'm a huge Mark Hamill. I'm a Hamill. I'm a huge Mark
You're a
Hamill
Hamill?
fan. Yeah,
You're a fanimal?
that's what they call me.
Mark
That's
Hamill?
so funny. I
You're
just
right.
think like what a career to be
Sky
like. I was
Stalker.
fucking Luke Skywalker. Now I do whatever I want.
Now I'm the voice of the Joker for 40
Yeah.
years.
I think that because I watched and listened to that Joker for so many years and didn't know until I was like a much older person, I was like, what a great surprise in my life. The Joker would love this.
Yeah. Well, he's in this cast, he is the most experienced voice actor by far. Like, I mean, he's prolific. He's that's what he's done since Luke,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah, love it.
And then Ving Rhames, the aforementioned Ving Rhames as a Peregrine Falcon.
Do you know how I recognize his voice? Anyone want to take a
Arby's.
guess? Arby's. We have the meats. That's him.
I've had to do that mental association in the theaters. Like, this sounds so familiar.
He was
not Keith
great.
David, who
This is
also
the thing
does
is, we're breezing through all of
Arby's.
these animals. They were all fucking phenomenal. They all deserve Best Supporting Actor. Like, they were all so fucking good. When the hawk starts teaching him, he's like, these are my teeth through the wind. And he was like, mine aren't that big. He's like, all the better to fly with. I was like, dude, it hit me. Every time they did something cheesy or emotional, it hit me.
And then he uses his better ability to turn inside of the robot garden factory.
Humanity is so far gone. They have indoor farms now.
Well, because that's where Roz seems to go at the end of the film.
Yeah, that's where she
I don't know
is.
if it's the factory
Dude.
or if Roz is on assignment to the garden.
Dude, this is the most important robot Universal Dynamics has ever had in their life. They extract the information and they're like, put it in the farm.
Parsley.
What?
You're gonna make parsley. Like what?
Yeah, they got the code.
They're like,
Literally
fucking,
talk to bears.
I'm telling you, if someone figured out how to translate animal speak, they would make $1 billion in a month.
Well, I think they want her for the programming, because they don't necessarily know that she communicates with animals. Do they?
Well,
mention
wouldn't
that
they
specifically
understand that
in the-
from taking her programming, I guess? I don't know. I did like when they're like, we're just going to keep coming back for you. We won't stop. And then the Bright Bill's like, what are they saying? And she's like, nothing. I was like, God damn it. That's
Protecting.
so good.
Yeah.
And there is a glorious murder of Stephanie Shu's character, of that evil robot.
Oh yeah.
It's really as she's saying that, she's being crushed. I actually find that character terrifying.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it was. I'm telling you. And then, yeah, her dying words as she just keeps repeating it. And she just has to go, she's not saying anything to Bright Bill. Like, that's cold, dude. That's like out of an action movie,
Yeah.
if I'm being honest.
the difference is that character speaks nicely but has evil behind it, whereas Roz has so much love under her sort of more muted delivery, which is like a total difference.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does. It totally does.
That was profound.
It's a nice juxtaposition. There's a $2 word for you.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think one of the things that I'm thinking about that is very rewarding about this film is like there's the obvious comparisons to like Iron Giant, to WALL-E, to E.T., Lilo and Stitch even, but it's like we get Roz as sort of that character, but she gets dialogue. We get to hear her perspective, and it's not just through like nondescript groans or like robot sounds or beeps.
I think what also made it so great is like, yeah, you could try to compare it to other movies. It really feels like its own fresh story to me, as cheesy as that sounds. Like, even like it's not like, oh, this is like a Pocahontas, or this is like it doesn't follow a traditional story beat like a lot of more children's movies do. This one, and it didn't even feel like, I know there was, but it didn't feel like in the theater there was like an Act 1, an Act 2, an Act 3. Like, it really flowed story-wise, and it kept me on my toes. I actually almost thought the movie was over when Bright Bill left. Like, I genuinely was like, that was great. And then it kept going, and I was like, what more or do we have?
Yeah, and it didn't feel long.
No, it didn't feel long to me.
If I'm remembering correctly, the last 3 films we've covered on the podcast are all 101, 102 minutes.
They've been hitting right where they need to hit.
That might be the perfect length of an animated movie. A little longer than the 90 minutes, just a little extra room for that oomph.
I think most movies should be
overlong.
between like 90 minutes and whatever the 2-hour mark is.
Yeah.
2 hours to me has started to feel just a little too long. I know some movies need to be that long, if that makes sense, but maybe I'm just getting older. That's fine. I can admit it.
I want 3+ hours.
There is a time and a place for that. I sat down, I watched all straight 4 hours of Zack Snyder's Justice League. Like, there's a time and a place for that. I just I couldn't have pictured this one going on for 2 hours 15 minutes.
Yeah.
No, this was the length that it needed to be.
And they packed so much into it too. Like, stuff happened so fast, and maybe that's why I felt like some things were a little half baked, but there's a lot of action packed into this movie. Seasons change. I love sort of the exploration of like the actual circle of life, for lack of a better term, but like animals having to hibernate, dealing with survival. Again, one of the central themes being kindness can be a survival skill. But even early there are bits in the movie where like you see nature and like the natural food chains happen. There's a bit where I think Roz picks up like a bird's head after Fink or something else eats it.
Yeah.
I was like, that's kind of gruesome.
That was like the start of the movie.
Yeah, you see the dead goose's wing. You see Bright Bill get chased down by this barracuda or whatever. What was in the water?
Yeah.
That was terrifying when the barracuda tried to eat Bright Bill.
Is that what that is? Is that
whatever it was? Yeah, we could roll with it. You didn't need to undermine yourself. You sounded great when you said it.
The long neck looks at, as they're about to fly away, so there's this big, like, they both, Roz and Bright Bill, want to say I love you. And long neck looks at him as they're about to fly away, and he says, you're the runt, you wouldn't have been here otherwise. The accident that killed your family saved you.
Dog. Oof. I almost needed to stand up and start pacing when he said that. I go, what a reality check for this kid, because right now he's really disillusioned with his weird mother, who he just found out accidentally had killed his family, and was like, is this just some task out of guilt for you? Which is so ironic because she can't even feel guilt. She's like, no, that's not at all why I'm doing this. Like, that was such a great culmination that I was slowly getting won over by long neck when I was like, oh, I love that he's like 1 week, he's got to stay in the air for sun up to sundown. That scene was great too, where he's fucking and he grabs the rug and he stands back up there. And
Little,
everyone's
like a Rocky montage.
this movie
Set
had
to Marin Morris.
everything. This movie had everything. That was just that was so beautiful. But then when he said that, I go, this dude is the realest goose. And he even shaded the other geese. He goes, yeah, we're a bunch of cranky, no good. He goes, oh, that's weird because geese are normally known. That was maybe the funniest moment of the movie for me. He goes, geese are normally so known to be friendly. And he's like, no, they're awful, gossipy, and really cranky all the time. I was like, yeah, that is what geese are like. They are cranky. What do you guys think? Do you have a funniest moment? I don't know if you guys can remember it. There was a lot of humor.
Matt Berry Beaver had this, again, not necessarily like the most fleshed out thing, but he had this, he really wanted to be friends with Fink. And there were like a couple moments where they needed his tree during the climax. And he's like, Fink, tell me I'm cool. Or something. And then Fink's like...
He goes, I want everybody to say right now that they were wrong. We were wrong. Yeah. And he goes, Fink, I want you to say I'm cool. What? Yeah, so good.
Roz is leaving and Fink, and everybody's telling Fink they can hang out with him. And actually my favorite was when when the beaver was like, you can even talk to me.
If you'd like.
It's like his dream. Yeah.
Now he's playing it cool.
I can't think of a funniest moment. None of them are.
We gave you so much time too.
Sorry.
There was a lot of comedy though.
Yeah.
What about when they're jumping out of the plane and Roz says and Bright Bill says I can't fly and Roz says you don't need to. That's hilarious.
That moment was hilarious. I'm sobbing.
I had it too.
I'm like, dude, this movie had several times. I was like, people around me are going to think I'm a weirdo. I'm alone at an 11 a.m. showing of this movie. And my theater was, only because this was so interesting, is like, there was no one in the center. All of the aisles had like families in them as much as they could, but there was like no one in the center. So I felt like I was in a fishbowl. And I was like, everyone could just see me sobbing right now.
That was my favorite. Just that idea of you sobbing in the middle of theater.
That's the funniest moment for you.
Part of this movie for me, yeah.
Okay, so yeah, Evan doesn't have a funniest moment then. So we can let's start. Let's get into like our closing thoughts. We'll give it a score out of 5, and then we will read some letterbox reviews here. Does anyone excuse me? Would anyone like to start with their closing thoughts?
I will start because I think I'll probably come in with the lowball score, which is not that much of a lowball. But my whole goal on this episode of the podcast is just to ground some expectations because of all of the fanfare and accolades this is getting right now. This is a beautiful, moving film. I just want to set some expectations that it might, like, expectations are a dangerous game. They might let you down. So I'm going to come in with a 4 out of 5. This is younger demographic than maybe you're used to us talking about on this podcast, but it's a marvel of modern animation. I think it's a credit to, one, obviously the animators, what the medium is capable of, what it should be doing more and more in the mainstream. But there are things that I could nitpick in this film. So 4 out of 5. I think it's beautiful, moving, wonderful experience.
Okay. All right. Kevin, you want to go or you want me to go?
I can go.
Okay, go for it.
I think you're going to be the top.
What?
This is unbelievable. I actually went into the first screening, the first time I saw it, and I left a little tiny bit disappointed because there was so much hype, and that got to me a bit. And I was also coming off like 25 films before, which could affect the viewing experience. However, I think this will hold up. I think it is I'm ready to call it a top 25 animated film of all time. I'm ready to do that. I think it is pushing the medium forward. The performances are amazing. It is really beautiful and gorgeous to look at. I will probably watch this once every year or two from now on. I don't think it's perfect. I think it should be nominated for the Academy Award for Best Animated Feature. And it's my number 2 animated film of the year, believe it or not.
What's it behind?
Still very high. It's called Flow, Latvian animated
Heard
film.
good things.
Also,
I think I
also
heard
with
good things
animals.
from you, though. Actually,
I think it was from me.
and now that I'm citing my sources, yeah.
I think it's an all timer. And I'm just an asshole, and I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 5.
4.5 out of 5. That's good. That's good. Okay, so I hated this film. Just kidding. Okay, so this film to me, I and these two gentlemen are probably right about tempering expectations because I went into it with very non-existent expectations. I thought it was going to be a fun romp around the forest via a robot's eyes, and it'd be funny, it'd be goofy. But this was one of the most heartfelt movies I've seen in quite some time. Like, I mean, I've been known to cry in a movie theater once or twice, but like the last time I cried this hard was Iron Claw, which was like, so, like, so
Sort of about,
similar
baby
things.
like,
It's
yeah,
like the
death.
found. Look, and I'm really into One Piece right now, and One Piece has this big theme of like found family, and so just the dynamic of like Roz, Finks, and Bright Bill, none of them really would have survived without each other. If they hadn't have
Tell me you want to live, Roz.
Tell me you want to live, Roz. That is 10 out of 10 reference. Okay, so Finks teaches her some crucial skills of like adapting and telling stories and whatnot. And obviously she's able to build all the stuff for them and get them food and comfort and whatnot. And it's just like this beautiful tale of like kindness winning, like Evan was saying. And I think that kindness still in this day and age of 2024 is still underrated somehow. And so I just love that this film radiated that, and we were able to see the waves and the ripples. If they hadn't all come together, they wouldn't have been able to save the island from the fire. So it's just like it was really good, like instant karma almost. We learned that lesson really well, and I just thought it was really. There's a lot of dialogue in the film, but I felt it was much more like show rather than tell. Like these characters aren't having these long dramatic dialogues. And I just think when you can nail that show, not tell, it is absolutely beautiful. And so for my rating, I know the past 2 projects we've been on, I have given things 5 out of 5 stars. So I may be losing credibility for my critiquing skills here, but to keep it a bit different and to overcompensate for Evan's lack of a star, I'm giving it 6 out of 5 for the first time ever, baby. I was so enthralled from start to finish. I'm breaking all the rules for this. I've broken my programming, and we're adapting. So deal with it. No,
That's great.
5 out of 5, 6 out of 5, whatever you want to call it. I thought it was great. I was enthralled.
For any of the things we could nitpick, you will not leave this movie without having some sort of pretty emotional, visceral response.
Yeah.
Like that's what you're going for, and it again.
And it was just
Does
so
that hands down.
beautiful.
Yeah, I was nitpicking the lack of backstory in the third supporting leads, which was alluded
that's
to
what we
anyway,
do
and he had
here,
a good
though.
arc.
That's what we do here, though. We're
Yeah.
coming in with a critical eye. Okay, Evan, do you have any letterbox reviews you want to read?
Not handy at the moment.
I got one, 3.5 stars. I don't like that rating, but it's funny. It says, "Be prepared to cry. This robot is so wild." I just thought that was good. 4 stars. Lupita Nyong'o did in fact have the programming to mother, and boy did she mother so hard. This is DreamWorks apologizing for Megamind 2.
Was Megamind 2 was recent?
I think it was recent. I
And
didn't see
wasn't
it,
it
though.
like 0%?
It was bad.
That was the whole thing with it.
I think it was.
Yeah. 4 stars. Pedro Pascal's daddy status shows no bounds as he made me contemplate bestiality. I don't know if this.
I'm
is the
glad you read
performance
that
for
because I wasn't sure if I should.
Kevin's like, I wasn't sure if that one was fair game or not. Yeah, you have one, Kevin.
I'm glad you. No, I was just staring at that, being like, I don't.
He's like, I couldn't actually
don't-
move past that one.
Evan has home field advantage
Yeah.
here. That's yours.
4 stars. Shed a tear when the wild robot said, "I am a wild robot." Yeah, it worked. I don't know.
No, I'm not kidding, because that on paper that should be like a corny moment, but it worked so well.
Here we go. A career in customer service prepares you for everything. 4 stars.
That's pretty cool.
And the emotional beat of before, like she was like before she like really crashes out, she's like, out of 5 stars, like how satisfactory, or out of 10, how satisfied with my task completion have you been? And I was like, God damn it, they got me there with the customer service line.
I mean, overall on Letterboxd, it has a 4.2 from 564
That feels good
ratings.
to me. I like that.
I think that's a little more of an accurate read than the Rotten Tomatoes 98%.
90. I kind of like the 98% though. That feels great to me.
On the Rotten Tomatoes of yes, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it a 98 out of 100 film? No. It's not a 98 out of 100
Yeah,
film.
Rotten Tomatoes ain't perfect by no means.
But I think 98% of people would like this.
Yeah. That's a good way to frame it.
All of them just talking about how much people cried in this film, so be ready for that. Not a dry eye in the room. I felt that same energy, but I cannot confirm nor deny if anyone else in my theater cried. But in the moment, I was like, man, there's not a dry eye in this room. And then as I was driving home, I was like, I don't actually know if anyone else was crying besides me.
Well, I know that the person crying in the row behind me, I felt for her. So if those people in the theater were thinking about you, just know they're on your side.
Yeah.
Or she had a terrible cold, I'm not sure.
I think that's all I got for Letterboxd. Let's we'll wrap up here with some news, and then we can get everyone on their merry way here. Evan, you have any news? I have one if you don't.
The only one jumping out at me, which I find personally thrilling, AMC, the movie theater chain, has invested $100 million into putting Coke freestyle machines in all of their theaters.
Wait.
When asked why, because they have 140 flavors. That beats having only 8 choices. Sound
What?
logic. I love the Coke freestyle machines.
Do you?
Yeah.
What
do
are
you
you
get?
getting? Yeah. What do you want in there that is not part of the
vanilla
8?
Coke. Okay, that, or I like the Seagram's ginger ale. The Coke freestyle introduced me to Seagram's ginger ale. I've been a Verner's.
Okay. Yeah, Verner's is
loyalist my
very
whole life.
Michigan. Yeah.
Or Canada Dry when that's not available. But I really enjoy the Seagram's ginger ale. It's a little sweeter than what I'm used to, but it's pretty good. But I like a
Interesting.
vanilla Coke on demand.
Ginger ale makes me think of like when I'm sick. My mom used to give me ginger ale, so I can't really drink that anymore. I feel like.
What about when you're sick?
What? Yeah. I guess when I'm sick, maybe I need to whip out the ginger ale. That's crazy. When I saw that, I was like, I think you said that to me, and I was like, oh, that's cool. But like, I didn't. Everyone's like, yes, it's time.
It's great. It's awesome.
Okay,
That's the forefront of technology for me. I was like, oh my.
That's your Rosum. You're
Yeah.
just like, this is the peak of technology. Okay, so I got an interesting one. I'd be curious to hear your guys' takes on the impact of this. Marvel and DC have lost the trademark for the word superhero. I'm going to be honest. I didn't know they had a trademark on the term superhero. Did you guys?
Had no clue.
Oh. Also, like, was it a shared trademark?
Yeah, how do you
Were-
share
Were they?
it?
Were they?
They must have went
were
in on
they
it together back in the day.
suing together? Like,
I don't know.
did they go after Invincible Comics and like what who's
So-
using superhero and they're like stop.
But this brings up an interesting point. I saw a tweet that was like, is this why like Invincible, The Boys, like Incredibles, they say soups or supers? And
I'm
I was
sure
like,
it must be.
Is it?
it must be. It has to be. Why? But like, that's just so mind blowing to me that these two long-standing comic book companies are like, yeah, we got that word on lock and key. Don't even think about using it.
Alex, this one might be pertinent for you.
Yeah.
One Piece has surpassed Game of Thrones as the most pirated media ever.
Hey, as a pirate of the seas, I love to hear that. It's all about being able to be free and watch whatever you want, whenever you want. So it's the most pirated. I wonder how they find those statistics. That's crazy to me. Like, if they could find those statistics, shouldn't they just be shutting those sites down?
They're self-reporting.
That's
It's
funny, though.
appropriate.
You know,
is there a
and-
more appropriate show?
What?
Like, is any show more appropriate than one about pirates?
No, it's perfect. I'll be fair though. I used to
Prison
pirate.
Break?
Hackers, maybe. Wasn't there a show
Hackers
called
would be-
Mr.
yeah.
Robot? Or no, it was like Mr. Robot.
Mr. Robot would make sense.
Mr. Robot does too. No, the Pirates is good. I used to contribute to the Game of Thrones numbers. I used to pirate that
yeah.
shit so hard. I didn't have HBO.
But now you've gone straight.
Now I've gone straight. No,
Probably
it's
watch it
so
on
weird. I don't
Netflix.
know. I actually don't know when it happened, but when we were in college, Evan, I used to pirate everything. And I haven't pirated, like, literally, I can't think of the last time I actually, probably something for this podcast, not me self-reporting, but, like, occasionally we'll run into something where I'm like, oh, it's not anywhere. I think it was Pokemon the last time.
I've never pirated media in my life. I don't know what you're talking about, Alex.
Yeah, me neither. That's
me.
that's
All right.
disgusting. That
Screw
is
me.
wrong.
I jaywalked the other day, too. Fuck
Oh,
me.
man.
You know what's so funny is when I was in New York recently, we were about to jaywalk, and I was like, hold on. There's a fucking cop right
I think
there.
it's legal now, isn't it?
Oh, is what
Yeah,
the fuck?
I
I
don't
don't,
even
know.
know.
God, I can't keep up. It's the same with
No.
weed. They just pick and choose which state it's legal in.
I wait for a DVD of Synecdoche, New York, because you can't even pirate that.
No, yeah. Oh God. Okay, I think I don't have anything else for news. Do you have it?
Real briefly, the Penguin premiere had 5.3
Oh.
million views in its first 4 days. HBO's biggest new series since The Last of Us. I don't know
That's
if
crazy.
either of you have watched
Yeah.
it yet.
I watched
tapped
the
in?
first
Yeah.
one, not the
And
second.
I
preliminary
watched the first
thoughts.
one, not the second one. I think it's. I mean, do we need another Gotham? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. It is darker with more swearing. It is very violent. The whole cast is really good. Colin Farrell clearly hates this role, but he is great because he's just spending so long in the makeup chair.
Yeah.
Like it adds to it. You can see how much he hates his life in that suit. I'm for it. I'm gonna watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
I very much going into it was like, oh man, do we really need this? Watch the first episode and I was like, yep, I'm here. How many episodes we doing? I thought it was really fun. You spoke of Colin Farrell. This is actually news I forgot too. He while he was in the makeup booth, because it took so long, he would watch Toy Stories. He goes, I watched Toy Story. I was just watching them all at the end of the work for the Penguin. Just something light and beautiful. Like you can tell he was fed up with this role to the point where he's watching Toy Story just to feel something.
I went to a screening of the first episode, and the lead Renzi Feliz, who is the lead, he's like a young kid who the Penguin's like, you're my bitch.
Yeah,
basically.
he was great too.
The first episode was like kind of funny, and they were interviewing him, and he's like, yeah, it gets really dark, like really dark. Like it looked like he was like feeling something.
He was like, yeah, don't let that episode 1 humor catch you. It's gonna
He's
get
like, I think this is the funniest one.
Oh, that's exciting. That's a good endorsement, actually.
Something to look forward to, yeah.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. All right, before I wrap us up here, Kevin, it's such a pleasure
Yeah.
having you back. Thank you for bringing. Honestly, I'll be honest. We might have. I don't want to say missed this, but we might have skipped over this without you. I think you saved the day here. You're the superhero. I can say that now. You're the superhero
allowed
of
to
this
say that.
podcast.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Can I plug my
Yeah.
things?
I was gonna
Absolutely.
plug it
Can I
for you.
plug
Go
my
ahead.
stuff?
I got the
plug.
follow up. You start.
If you like the movie stuff, this is basically after Big Brother, all this social media stuff came about, and I was like, oh, a lot of it's, I don't know if I'm the right fit for that. But the film and TV stuff I've really enjoyed, and so it's been a lot of fun. So I post about this kind of stuff at Kevin Ted Jacobs on Instagram and TikTok, and then I have what started as, for those of you who watch sports, this will make sense, and for those of you who don't, I will explain it. The Players Tribune for reality TV stars. I started this newsletter with Rob Sesternino from Survivor called The Confessional. So we get people from reality shows to tell their stories. You can find it at realitytvnewsletters.com.
This is what I was going to pitch, because these newsletters for real, we have a lot of reality TV fans here. They are so fun and so interesting, and he's gotten a lot of really good and interesting people. I think the most recent one was America, and you had Corey as well. The one by Brandon Donlin, good friend of mine, was just so chef's kiss. I am absolutely in love with this, and it's made me enjoy reading again. I've fallen out of a habit of reading, but I'm looking forward to his newsletter every week, or however. Does it come out every week?
It's every week.
It's every week.
So we're like the newsroom. We're grinding. We're edited over the weekend.
That's
Yeah,
great. That's great.
Every Monday.
No, it's really exciting. If you're a reality TV fan, you should definitely check that out.
Oh, thanks, Alex. Because it's a lot of mostly reality TV coverage is like people yelling at each other on Twitter. So this is like a more nuanced approach.
Exactly. No, that's a great way to put it, actually.
You have to read between the lines for the yelling.
It's there. It's there. Great. Well, no, I'm glad we had you back. We're not going to wait 2 years for the next one. We'll find another high prestige film. Okay, Flow. It's on whenever. I'm not sure when it comes out. We'll check.
It has a release.
Okay, it doesn't even have a release date. But we got the next time down. I'm excited. But that's so funny. You were like telling me about it, and then I was like, oh yeah, I've heard good things. And I was like, oh wait, yeah, it was definitely from you though. So okay. Good. I'm excited. Okay, I'll wrap us up here. Catch Kevin next time on Flow. Go check out his social media and his newsletter as well. It's a lot of fun. But if you enjoyed this episode, please go check out our others. We have a whole backlog of stuff that you will enjoy. You can check it out on Apple, Spotify, and on YouTube as well. Make sure you follow us at 2 Dudes Watch Cartoons on Instagram and TikTok. And make sure you rate and review wherever you're watching. It helps people find the podcast, and we appreciate it. And as always, just thanks for listening.
That'll do it for this episode of 2 Dudes Watch Cartoons. We will catch you next time.
2 dudes watch cartoons.